I have to press on OK. That's good.
So, Ghalia Bidawi, thank you very much for sparing us time. Thanks a lot for joining us. Let
Thanks to
me
you.
introduce you to the viewers. If we manage having a good recording and we manage posting it on YouTube. Ghalia Bidawi has been working as a journalist for last about 2 decades. She has been working in the past with BBC, Canadian Broadcasting Service, CBC, Qatar, Al Jazeera, and she has been working in Qatar, Canada, the USA, Syria, of course, where she comes from originally. She did an MA in mass global media and post-national communication. Let's
Mhm.
be transparent, Ghalia. We were class fellows.
Yes, we were.
So I think since we keep talking about transparency, we should be transparent ourselves. Thanks a lot for
Yes,
sparing
yes,
this
we're
time. I know
classmates.
it's very tough when you spare time when you have 2 kids to take care of and a very stressy
Mm,
job.
yes, it
Recently,
is.
you were in Damascus. It
Yes, I
was
was.
quite emotional for you as well. I think you returned to your country after many years, especially after the toppling of the Assad regime, which both of us have been opposing. And I remember the Arab Spring times when we were together at Suez, how
Remember those days?
emotionally
Yeah.
engaged we both were, but especially our friends and you yourself who belong to the region. So please tell us about this journey. It was although meant for professional reasons, but definitely it had some personal touch as well. Let us
Okay.
know your
So
experience.
yeah, as you mentioned, since 2011, when the revolution started, we were all very anxious and excited, and we were like, yes, we deserve that too. Why don't we join the Arab Spring? Why don't we witness a change in our country for good, to be, to upscale our living standards, to follow technology, to stop being under sanctions, all these things. Um, and then um, we were shocked that the Syrian regime did not really answer our requests, our demands. They only responded by violence. So slowly, the revolution turned from a peaceful revolution that we all joined at the beginning, from different sects, different religions. People believed in this revolution in 2011 and 2012. Um, to he turned it into a war. They stopped calling it a revolution; it became a civil war. That's not what it was. But then, um even worse, the Syrian revolution started losing its good reputation of a revolution that went against a dictator in the country, um, because of other movements or other, what do we call them, players that tried to use the Syrian revolution, like ISIS. Um, and then it became scattered. Many people lost hope, and the international community even lost faith in the initial goals of the Syrian revolution. Now, there are a lot of people who did not stop believing in it, but they were like hopeless. And especially when Arab leaders started opening up again to Assad, they hosted him again in their countries as a president of a country. Although there's a big record of casualties and prisoners and detainees that he is in charge of. Um, so when Syrians started seeing that he was back, welcomed as a president, even some European leaders were in touch with him, diplomats on high levels. So we lost hope we were like, this maybe not happening. Maybe he's very powerful at the moment, especially because Russia is backing him, Iran, and other players, and the opposition is showing up as a weak movement. But then suddenly, and for many reasons, the reasons needs another episode to talk about. But on the 27th of November 2024, we started hearing about uh, the Syrian opposition going south from Idlib, their side, to liberate further provinces and cities. We were like, yeah, we've heard that before. It's not new. And then they reached Aleppo on 28th. Aleppo, it wasn't entirely under the regime's control. Some part of it historically, like since 2011, it was back and forth between the opposition and the government. But then the day after, they took over the entire city of Aleppo, which was like, oh, that's a big thing. And they kept going south to Hama. Hama is a red line for the government because it's south of Aleppo that had these back and forth problems before. And it has always been under the regime's tight grip. Specifically because there was some history about Hama in 1982 when the father of this regime committed mass graves there or crimes against its local people. So the regime was putting enhanced control in Hama. And then the battle started there, and we were like, oh, surprised that that they even reached Hama. And then after 2 days, they could get over the entire city of Hama and go further south to Homs. And we were like, no ways, what's going on? And then after Homs, the rebels in the south area of Daraa started going north. So they surrounded the city of Damascus from all borders and went inside it to control it from all sides. And the Syrian regime was no resistance, just decided to quit. The orders were given to the soldiers just to take off their military uniform, put down their weapons, and run away. And this really happened in the 8th of December. Now, I can tell you personally, on a personal level, we did not sleep that night at all. We were like, no, this is not happening. And we were crying. We were so happy. I'm one of the people who never stopped believing in the Syrian revolution, no matter what. Like, even when ISIS took control and it started defaming the reputation of our Syrian revolution, I was like, you should see the clear borders. Like, there are clear lines between this and that. So we were crying. We were so happy. We could not believe our eyes, but it was really happening. We were like literally at 6 in the morning. That was the day before. On the 7th, we were sitting in front of the TV on 6 in the morning. That was on Saturday. And we're just watching and watching and what's gonna happen. And then on the 8th, when this happened, we started screaming and crying and laughing. And I don't know, we wanted to celebrate, we wanted to go out and see other Syrians, but we were at the same time that, scared a little bit because we're not sure where this is going. We were all scared because in the back of our minds, all over the past decade, the Syrian president could convince all of us of his famous slogan or motto that Assad or we burn the country. So it's either you have Assad or the country is going to be burned. So we were afraid of sectarian war. afraid for the minorities, um, afraid of civil war, afraid of revenge, of bloodshed. In the back of our mind, we believed that a bloodshed was gonna come. So we were all embracing for the worst, because that's what we thought. Now, the first day, the when the rebels went inside Damascus, we were like, okay, let's see. We were all watching. The first thing they said, actually, before entering Damascus, they went into Hama. There's a suburb in Hama called Salamia. It's full of minorities from Smileys. And we saw videos, real videos, because this revolution was well documented. And it was live videos for families from Smiley sect that they welcomed the rebels. And the rebels were cheering back to them. They were just like very normal. There was nothing to be concerned about. So the rebels were very keen on sending these comforting messages that we care about keeping stability. We're here to take over or take off Bashar al-Assad, take over control, free detainees, stop Assad's crimes, and uh, just build it up together. We kept watching the first day, the second day, the third day. There was nothing going wrong. So I really wanted to see with my own eyes. So I decided to go to Syria, and that was one of the big decisions because it was still early, and I work with American TV channel, and e even my administration were like, I mean, when my managers were not sure whether it's safe yet or not for journalists to go. But I was like, come on, believe me, I'm Syrian. I'm going exactly to the place where I grew up. I know that city very, very well, Damascus. I even know shortcuts. I can do it very easily. I know people. I have my family and friend there. So I started comforting that, sending comforting messages to my managers, and then they were like, "Okay." We went through the regular procedures of safety, and then on 23rd of December, I finally traveled from Abu Dhabi to Damascus. That trip was one of the best trips in my life. Going back to Damascus after around 13 years of not being able to go back because I was scared to go back. When I left Syria, I left it as a single person. When we met together in SOAS, I was single, young, just, in my 20s. And I came back as a different person, a person that has international experience, that lived in many places, but not in her real home. Um, a mother of two kids that never seen their home country. And I missed my friends there. I missed my family. So it was a very touchy journey, to be honest. Yeah.
Okay. Well, there is a lot of uncertainty yet, at least outside of Syria. People are talking about many things. I wish we could hold this interview for hours and hours with you, but given the time constraints, talk about this uncertainty, how real the fears are. Let us know about what the Syrian people, at least you were in Damascus, how the people in Damascus are reacting. Are they optimistic? Is there is pessimism? Is there a lot of uncertainty there too?
Mhm. Uh, from what I saw, people were very optimistic, very happy. They're optimistic because they believe deep inside that they've seen the worst. There won't be a worse than the worst. So this is something that they keep repeating. Like, don't be afraid. There won't be worse than what we've witnessed. Um, Plus, the new government is trying to send good messages that we care about technology, about power. I don't know, just building up the country again, inviting investors. And if you notice the type of people that they're inviting, like other than the diplomats, they're inviting businessmen from all nationalities, but specifically the Syrian ones, inviting them with clear messages that this is your country, come back and invest here. We will give you all facilities you need. This is great. Um, so once people see that, you know, they will definitely be optimistic. We don't know yet about what's going to happen in after a decade. But for at least for now, those who have people in detention centers and were not able to ask about them or look for them or have no idea about their fate, now they're either looking or they found them back. So this type of people, this one reason to be optimistic. The other reason is just the government messages.
And have there been some dress codes, some talk of Sharia by HTS, kind of
Not
Talibanization that we were fearing? Can you please tell us about that as well, especially given the fact that despite this very brutal regime there, Syrian society used to be tolerant, liberal, at least in the apparent lifestyles, and then there have been a history of, progressive movements in Syria that goes back to 40s and 50s. So could you please tell us about that as well?
Yes, yeah. No, here there are two things. Syria is vast. It's not all liberal. It is a scale of conservatism and liberalism. There are some cities where you don't see girls with no hijab. There are some cities where you see the hijab is like starts from here, it's very conservative, like Hama. Um in Idlib also they embrace the conservative culture. In Damascus, we're a little bit different, but not entirely different. It's like in my time before the Syrian revolution, before 2010, maybe 60% of the girls used to wear hijab. So it's not like this is totally new. But dress code, as imposing dress code, no, nothing from that at all. And I don't see this coming, uh, at least from officials, from formal sources. So, because they're trying their best to say, we're not gonna impact this, we're gonna let you be the way you want to be, but just show some respect. Uh, when I went there, of course, I did not have to wear any hijab or anything. It's winter, so I was wearing big long jacket anyways. So we will see how it's gonna be in the summer. A big challenge there, because in Damascus there used to be, there are swimming pools for both males and females together mixed. Not everywhere, but in certain places. So it will be fun to see how they're gonna deal with that. Especially that they are the senior leaders. They're trying to show that they are rational. It's that they are conservative, but they don't impose um, their ideology on locals.
Okay, and what about some of the reports, for instance, in as credible newspapers or as well-known global news outlets as New York Times about targeting of minorities? I remember having a discussion with you, and you thought most of these reports are written by reporters who have never been to Syria and all that. Um, Still, this is a kind of
Yeah.
propaganda we keep hearing. Could you please tell us about that a little bit?
Um, I went there on 23rd of December, meaning 2 days before Christmas, and I intentionally wanted to be there on Christmas night to go to the church and see how it goes. I witnessed with my own eyes when I went to to the biggest church in Damascus called the Dam of Damascus, Madame of Damascus, or Lady of Damascus. Um, when we reached that area, I saw security guards uh, just surrounding the entire area. And they were well equipped, and they were like ready, just standing there watching out the cars, who's coming in, who's coming out. And when I asked them what you're doing there, they were like, we're securing the area so nothing, no violations happen. Because at this very fragile time, uh, in a, a very fragile time, we don't want any sectarian issue to happen. So they were making sure that it's secured, there are no troubles. So it doesn't raise questions. That was and when I went inside the church, I asked people, I looked around, I made some interviews with them. Most of them were like, yeah, well, we are here, so we can practice our religion, we can practice our worship, do whatever, but we're uncertain how it goes. It's fair to say that, yes. We're not certain, no one is certain, no one can tell. Um, but at least the new government tried its best to secure the area because it doesn't want anything to threaten, to raise any issue. Because there was an event before that, a day before the Christmas Eve in Hama, when some people, or I don't know, anonymous people, group of people tried to burn a Christmas tree in Hama, and that raised a very big problem. And Christians, some groups went into streets and they started uh, voicing out their concerns. So the government was making sure that no, this is not going to happen again, and if this happens, we will have to deal with it. Now they are trying, yes, they are. Is Are violations happening? I don't know if we're going to say that it is happening on a large scale or small scale, but what we see for now, uh, of course, there are things that we see, but there are other things we don't see. So, based on the things that we see, it is um, people who have weapons, who are armed, and they have their weapons at home, and sometimes they use it to threat to I don't know, for future. I don't know how they're trying to use it. So the government is saying, well, hello, we are a government right now, and in our country, you should not be carrying weapons, so you should surrender it to the government. And these people did not, so they are going into their areas and like collecting the weapons. This is what we see now. In the way, there are some cases of revenge. Yes, maybe. We can't forget that um, people have been through a lot over the past 10 years. Um, this is not to say that what is going on is forgivable, but the leaders are saying that taking revenge is not okay, and it's going to be punished by law, whomever is trying to do that. So that is the main rule. And of course, we're humans by the end of the day. Not everyone obey to the main rule.
Let's move to the question of Kurdistan or Kurdish people there. Uh, Apparently, there is a sort of rapprochement or some sort of agreement between HTS or the Syrian government and Kurds. They are cooperating with each other.
Hmm.
Surprised perhaps many people internationally, but at the same time, the Turkey-backed militias, at least if one goes by some of the YPJ media accounts, both on Twitter and Facebook, which I follow, there have been attacks and there has been conflict going on. They're rather getting worse.
Hmm.
Would you please let us know, especially how people are thinking in, I mean, we are talking about ordinary people there, the citizens, the people concerned in Damascus about the Kurdish question there. And what is your own evaluation of the situation in relation to Kurdish people?
Yes. So, in general, when Syrians hear about what's going on in the Kurdish areas, the first thing that strike their mind is like, oh, they want to divide our country. That's not acceptable. This is how they think, and especially that area, that part of Syria, is full with oil, full of oil. It's one of the richest. And plus, Hasaka is very rich with wheat. They call it the basket of the entire Syria. So it's a very, very rich area. It has also Euphrates River. Syria counts on that area from all aspects. So because it's that part of land, it is very controversial. And plus, the Syrian regime did not teach people the meaning of federal ruling. Like if there is a federal area that it's still part of your country, still have a deal with the country. They're not used to that term. They did not learn it in school, so it's very weird for their ears. It's odd to their ears to hear it, and when they hear it, they're like, oh, Kurds want to have their own country, want to take our resources. Now, uh, I like what's going on now that the Kurdish leaders are being aware of the new reality. So they're trying to base their negotiations based on the new reality, new outcome. Uh, and they're still back and forth with the Syrian government on whether they should be part of the army or mingle inside the army, like not be a Kurdish, army by itself inside the Syrian army. This is what they are going through, but because of the international backing of the Kurdish leaders, and I hope that continues, and the new Syrian government is dealing with this file delicately and giving it an importance. And they should reach a middle solution sometime. I don't believe that this new government is gonna diminish their rights similarly to what Saddam Hussein did, or the Assad or Erdogan, or even Erdogan. They have better rights in Turkey than in Syria uh, in the 80s, but still, we'll see.
Okay, two sort of interrelated questions,
Hmm.
especially for an audience which is looking Syria through media of different kind. Um, First, the first part of the question is about the role of international powers, in
Hmm.
particularly the USA. Russia, and then some regional countries. Israel, of course, as a proxy of USA and a power in itself in the region. Israel, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, these are all
mm,
important players, and Iran,
mm,
of course. So could you please
mm.
speak about the global game in Syria, great or not so great game in Syria of the global powers? And a related question, a
Mm.
lot of people, both for instance in Pakistan in particularly, but in a way internationally, the sections of the left, which otherwise takes good positions many times, but they have been supporting Assad against Syrian revolution on the plea that he is anti-American, anti-Israel, blah, blah, blah. Likewise, in perhaps some of the Muslim countries, including Pakistan, the fight has also been seen with a sectarian lens. Okay, Assad being supported by Iran, being Shia, and all that.
Mm.
How would you respond to these questions and criticisms and the role of the international powers? How are they going to impact the situation in country? I know it's long question and
Yeah,
a long
yeah. But
long interview,
do
but
you
very briefly.
do you mean kind of the change of powers?
Yes, that too.
Yeah. Okay. Change of powers, because it's it's striking how we see change of powers right now. 2 months ago, Iran was feeling that that Syria is its own country, it's part of its territory, and now it's no longer. Um, I mean, even Russia itself changed its position. Russia has backed the Syrian government since 2015 fiercely. Like without Russia, the regime could not survive all that long. But it's obvious now that Russia um lost hope in Assad in the past few years. Um, and I'm currently working on a documentary on the political reasons behind the fall of Assad regime. And I interviewed many uh, experts and people close to the foreign powers involved in this about what made this happen. And most of them agreed on this point that Russia lost hope in Assad, because since 2018, Russia was pushing him to integrate more Syrians, have dialogue with the opposition, uh, agree with the 2254, the international resolution. Uh, but the Assad was not responding to any of this. So gradually, Russia felt that this is a lost bet, and I'm not gonna invest any powers in there anymore. Show me who's the alternative, and Turkey showed its that there are some people that could do it. So they agreed on that, and Bashar was left alone, and that's how he left the country. Um, I mean, eh, about the anti-American thing, uh, who said that Assad was anti-American? And first, uh, is it really practical to be anti-American anymore? Like, why would they be anti-American? Uh, and the ideology of resistance, the resistance axis that was created by Iran is changing entirely. Uh, Golan Heights, parts of Syria were occupied by Israel for decades ago. What happened? Did he ever call to bring? Yeah, he did. Like just by blah blah, by talking, saying that he wants to return it. Did he really do that? No. And Israel was expanding and expanding, and in the last year, it was bombing inside Damascus, inside the entire country, actually. And Assad did not dare to do anything. Not only Assad, but none of his allies as well. So I think There are two things that it doesn't mean if the new people now are not under Iran's regime, it doesn't mean that they are not with Palestinian peoples. This has nothing to do with that. Palestinians are neighbors and are brothers in humanity. Their case is fair, and it's our case, and our generation and the previous generations and the future generations will all learn about the fairness case of Palestine. This is one thing. He doesn't own it. Bashar al-Assad and the Iran and the resistance does not own Palestine file. Okay, this is one thing. The other thing, why should we be anti-American? Who said this is victorious? Why don't we all agree on the main points and live in peace? Right. Third, the Syrian people really got so tired over the past decade. Now I prepared some numbers to tell you about, because in case people do not really know what happened in Syria and they're like, oh, the allies left and now the new people are coming. Uh, the Bashar al-Assad, who claimed to be victorious, his results of the Syrian revolution since 2011, he killed, according to the Syrian Observatory, says it has documented the killing of more than 500,000 people since 2011, out of more than 600,000 confirmed deaths over a period of 12 years. Now, second, refugees. According to UNHCR, United Nations Human Commissioner of Refugees, the total number of officially registered Syrian refugees exceeded 5.5 million, while internally displaced people reach more than 6 million people. Right? That's half of the population. Now, number three, the World Food Program indicated about 12.1, again, half of the population. Now that the half that stayed, uh, 12 million people in Syria, or more than half of the population, suffered from food insecurity, making it among the 6 countries with the highest rates of food insecurity in the world. Now, by the way, there was a report last week on one of the TV channels that focused on the resources of Syria, and it's comparing us to one of the very wealthy governments in the region, that we have the resources, but this is what we ended up with. In turn, a number of people forcibly disappeared. About 112,000 people. So did you see my point? That it's, yes, he's anti-American and he did that all. Is there something wrong going on there? And if people would think that, okay, Syrians are not going to be standing with their brothers in Palestine anymore, let me tell you, this is different. This has nothing to do with that. And this is a delusional idea given by the axis of resistance, those people, those governments who take exclusivity on that they are the protectors of Palestinians. Myself, I was one of the people who had that idea when I was little. When I met an Iranian uh, feminist, and she was part of the opposition in London. I think you know her. And I was like, when I first met her, the first thing that I wanted to ask her about, what does she think about Palestinian people? Because they teach us that in our mind. Like if you're anti-American, if you're not anti-American, then you don't care about Palestinians. And that girl was totally with Palestinians, totally with humanity, against crimes, against settlements, Israeli settlements. So this is what the Iranian regime is trying to convince people by having exclusivity on all the on the Palestinian case. And that's, if you're not with it, then you are enemy of humanity. That's not correct.
Thank you, Ghalia. And also, let me share a personal anecdote here as well. One of my own personal comrade, he spent 17 years in Assad's jail. He was member of the once existing Communist Party. So, many of us have been pointing out that, anti-imperialism is not a monopoly of these bloody dictators who kill their own people. I also on purpose use the term anti-Americanism because I see it very different from anti-imperialism. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for your time, for your insights, for your personal experiences that you narrated, which I'm sure would help people understand the situation there. Also, best wishes for the future of Syria. And I also
Thank you
think
very much.
the Syrian future, the future of entire Middle East, entire people all over the world is actually related to everyone. Have a very lovely evening with your
Thank
family.
you. Thank
Take
you. We're
care.
all hoping for for the best.
Good luck.
Thank you. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.